Hello and welcome back. In today's video, I wanted to talk about 10 things I actually am spending money on, even though I am a very frugal person. Because essentially in life, you can try to penny pinch basically through anything and everything, but eventually it catches up to you. Buy nice or buy twice. I've experienced this way too many times. And there are certain things that if you neglect spending, say for example $20 on, $100 on, if you neglect and just let it be, it's going to end up costing thousands, if not tens of thousands. Let's get right into it. The first thing that I will always spend money on is health. If I ever have any kind of toothache, I am booking the dental appointment right away. I don't think people realize how important teeth are, and because of their close proximity to the brain, it is extremely important to basically take care of the problem right away because the consequences can be so devastating, even leading up to death in some very, rare instances. But it always starts very small, obviously. And also health insurance. It always pains me to think that as much as my husband and I pay for health insurance a month, which right now is around $725, I think, a month for both of us. In Europe, in Eastern Europe where I'm from, I could actually live the entire month on that. Like rent a studio, pay utilities, buy food. Maybe not have everything, but just that insurance payment actually covers a lot of essential living expenses in other places in the world. And the crazy thing about insurance is I do think I have a good insurance with zero deductible. Anytime I go to the doctor, it's always a gamble because I never know whether the copay is going to be $0 or $20 or $100. It's literally a random number based on who knows what anytime. And they always find these loopholes on how to deny people of coverage. But obviously not having the insurance will cost an insane amount either way. So we're screwed and scammed either way. But when you're in the system, when you're part of the system, you have to participate. The second thing I'm not cheaping out on is good quality sleep because we spend, obviously, as we know, 1/3 of our life sleeping. I didn't buy the most expensive mattress like Purple or something. I just bought, I think, a 14-inch Serta mattress because I've noticed that in a lot of hotels I've been staying, that was kind of the staple and I got a really good sleep. And I think having good sleep and waking up in a really good mood is essential. I've also had a fair share of really cheap mattresses that would just become, really dented and wear out and just were not good sleep experience. But investing in good sleep, even though it's not the top of the line, the absolute best of best mattress, is still really worth it. The next one is car maintenance and safety. Simply because in my car, I ride with people who I love. So as soon as there's an engine check or transmission or any other kind of problem, I have to take it to a place to, even for them to run the diagnostics and to check to see how big the problem is. Like, is it a $100 repair or is it a $5,000 repair? But obviously we spend so much time behind the wheel, always driving somewhere, so it's super important to upkeep with the car maintenance. Because even neglecting something like an oil change can lead to consequences of, engine problems and bigger things. Thus turning a $100 expense into thousands down the road. The next thing I'm not saving money on is buying good food, good products, and whole foods. I try not to buy processed food as much as possible and shop at farmers markets or local farmers, even though sometimes I might be paying more to that specific vendor. But first of all, I know that I'm supporting a local family and I know that that person did not put, as many chemicals as a lot of these, store brands are putting. So for me, it's basically as close as you can get to the natural state of that item. And essentially how you sleep, what you eat, basically forms your further health habits, which all of these are interconnected really. When I was doing real estate back in Vegas, I actually worked so much, like some weeks were 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks, and at times I basically was living in my car buying food as I went. But even then I tried to buy something that's a little bit healthier, maybe like tacos from a local place or a Chipotle bowl instead of, like McDonald's burgers, because I didn't have time to cook. But since I've minimized my life and simplified it a lot, now I'm more at home, only working part-time, and I find a lot more fulfillment and enjoyment in, making my own bread and cooking at home. And there is a little bit of a learning curve, but it is worth it in the end. The next thing I can splurge on is skills and education. Now, with this one, gladly and thankfully to YouTube, there is so much that is completely free. I mean, you can literally YouTube any topic and just find everything you need for free. So I don't think that there's ever a need to buy a course or a class. But I always consider furthering my education. So the next class I was thinking about getting would be a class on paralegal work, because this is something I'm interested in. I've always been having fun just like studying law for fun on the side. I used to work with lawyers and write contracts, obviously, in my line of work. That's the next course I was thinking of investing in. But I think I can also just the same buy a book and basically self-teach myself everything as well. The next thing I'm okay splurging money on is mental health. Now, this is kind of similar to the first point I brought, which is health in general, but I think, more and more I'm really glad that we are talking about mental health more openly. In the thick of your seasonal depression, that there is also regular depression. It honestly took me forever to find a therapist who is a good therapist, specializes in specific things I need, and also accepts my insurance. And thankfully the copay is very, very small, but what a difference it makes. I mean, you guys, the next thing I do not care about how much money it costs is home security. After living in Vegas and just experience how many burglaries there are, honestly, on the daily. Homes get burglarized on the daily, middle of the day. They don't even wait till night. Actually, in Summerlin, an affluent area of Vegas, there happened to be this incident where a post office worker got basically attacked several times, and they stole all of the master keys to all of the mailboxes of the people. For years, I had this heightened sense of alarm, especially if I'm at home and I hear some sounds, some creepy sounds, like I was just like not feeling safe. 4K cameras, top of the line, every window has a little sensor, motion, like just as much security as possible with alarms. That is a good investment for the world that we live in today. Even though as a minimalist, I don't even have anything to like steal from the house that I live in, but it's just like the sense of violation. If somebody enters into your home, you will never most likely feel safe within your home, which is part of the reason why when I was doing real estate in Vegas, I really liked selling condos in high rises on the strip, because essentially if you live on, the 40th floor of a condo, the only entryway point is through the main door. Whereas when you live in a house, there's like 13, 14 different entry points. Anyways, enough about the negative. The next thing that I always am okay splurging money on is good footwear. Quality shoes for long walks are super, super important. Now, it doesn't matter so much for like everyday shoes just to walk from the house to the car, from the car to the store, from the store back to the car, because you're only taking like several hundred steps. I don't think it's as important, but for workout shoes and for walking shoes, it's super important to have. My husband always makes fun of me because we call them orthopedic shoes, and I always tell him, I need my orthopedic shoes because I'm not getting any younger, and so I need my orthopedic shoes, orthopedic soles. I need that arch support, that back support. And also I need them to look cute. But that's another investment that pays off long term, especially health-wise. And honestly, $100 shoes from like Nike would serve many years. Like, you're not just buying them for one season. The next category would be legal and financial advice, also professional advice, which includes accounting services. When I did real estate, I was basically a 1099 self-employed person, and I kind of understood how taxes worked. Like, this is money in, this is money out. I was a sole proprietor, but I paid a really good accountant who just knew how to do their magic, like click. I don't understand this, but I found a really good accountant who always helped me basically find the best loopholes and the best legal ways of how to pay less taxes. And essentially, it was worth to pay more for an accountant who knows what they're doing so that it's done properly, it's filed correctly, so that there's no issues. Pretty much anyone who's doing business knows that their two most important people are their lawyer, their attorney, and their accountant. Now again, thankfully everything can be Googled or ChatGPT'd these days, but having a specific person who specializes in a very specific field, just knows ins and out and has experience, that is very worth it to pay for, even though these people charge $300, $500 an hour. The last but not least very important thing that is okay to spend money on, and I do not mind splurging at all, is home inspections and maintenance. If your car repair can be anywhere from $500 to $2,000, when it comes down to a home, it's never $500. It's always like some ridiculous number, $5,000, $20,000. If you want to replace your roof, they're gonna quote you some seriously crazy number. I'm gonna have to move my camera because the sun's coming out in a little bit. But essentially, even though I'm doing an extreme no buy this year, there's still limits to it. And I try to be a very, very reasonable person. Like, if something makes sense, it just makes sense. I'm not trying to apply this one rule to everything to be all-encompassing. And if you are trying to save money and be frugal, lay out your rules, but remember that there are certain things that are worth spending money on. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe.